in the matter 24 SC 286, Rosemary
Jordan.
versus Jatisha Ekstrom and Brad Rabine. We have appearing in person, Ms. Ekstrom and Mr. Rabine without counsel. We have Ms. Jordan appearing with Mr. Benson in person. We're set here today in this matter for an eviction hearing. The court has received and reviewed documents, the summons and complaint, as well as the answer and counterclaim. There was a proposed amended answer and affirmative defenses and counterclaim filed yesterday, untimely. Mr. Benson, this is your matter in your case. I'm going to turn it over to you.
I would call Rosemary Gerdinger, Your Honor.
First, I'm going to have the parties please stand up, raise your right hands, and be sworn in. Is the other individual who's seated here going to be a witness at any time?
Potentially, yes. I'm
going to have all parties, even the gentleman in the back, stand up, raise your right hand, and be sworn in.
That includes you.
Mr. Rabin.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to provide to the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may be seated. Thank you. Mr. Benson, you may call your first witness.
Ms. Gerdinger, Your Honor. Can she sit here? She's limping, so I don't know if you want her.
No.
So,
well, no, because everybody's going to need to sit at the witness stand. All right. Ms. Jordan, may you please come up here and have a seat at the witness stand.
Are we set, Your Honor?
You may begin.
Okay, thank you. Do you own any property in Grantsburg, Wisconsin?
Yes.
Is that a home, an apartment, duplex? What is that?
It's a trailer home.
Trailer home. Okay, and approximately how long have you owned that property?
Probably a couple of years.
Okay. And originally you had signed a lease. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
For you, it's been marked Exhibit 101. Are you familiar with that document?
Yes.
And what is that?
That is a rental agreement, I guess.
So it's a lease with Cody Mason and Selena Mason, correct?
Yes.
And it was from January of 23 to January of 24?
Yes.
Okay. And they don't live there anymore, do they? They left.
Correct.
Okay. And then did Mr. Rabin move in?
Yes.
And approximately when did he move in?
June
of
24.
2024. So, and there is no written lease with Mr. Rabin, is there?
There was not.
Okay. And when did Miss Ekstrom move in?
I'm not quite sure. I believe I'm thinking around June 2 as well. I just remember Bradley calling and saying, can my girlfriend / watch the children there?
Okay.
So.
And did you negotiate them living there, or someone you know or helps you negotiate them living there?
Randy, probably. Are you saying like a?
Yeah. Do you have someone that helps you? Yes, a partner.
Yeah.
And what's your partner's name?
Randy Jacobson.
Okay.
Jernigan, please wait until Mr. Benson is done speaking or asking a question before you speak, because the court reporter needs to take everything down. She can't take two people speaking at the same time down. It makes her job very difficult. Okay.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
All right. So you and Mr. Jacobson both spoke with Mr. Rabin and Miss Ekstrom?
Just Bradley. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You never talked with Miss Ekstrom?
No.
Okay. And have you received any rent since they've moved in there?
None.
Okay. Have they paid utilities since they've moved in there?
I believe there was one for about $50 on the electric bill.
Okay. And to date, you said no rent and minimal utilities.
Very small.
And the lease says utilities are the responsibility of the tenant, correct?
Yes, normally it would be, yeah.
Okay. But that's what it says on the lease, right?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else the court needs to know right now? Have you talked to them about being late on rent?
I think that, I think they are aware that they gotta pay some rent.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Did you ever speak with Mr. Rabin or Miss Ekstrom about paying rent?
I personally haven't.
Okay, would that have been Randy?
Yes.
Okay. But this home is in your name. You own it, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And and Randy is your partner in this?
Yes.
Okay, no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Rabine or Miss Ekstrom, do you have any questions for Miss Jerdigan?
Yeah, would it be possible to see a copy of the lease or that he
Should
gave to
have a
her?
copy
I
of the lease.
don't have a copy of the lease. I've never.
That was my only copy, but
Is that an exhibit?
yes,
All right.
can certainly.
Are you asking the court to receive that exhibit?
Yes, Your Honor.
The court will receive the exhibit. You can provide that to
This one is Cody's, so.
Mr. Rabine.
But you don't have a lease, written lease.
Yeah, for them, I don't,
Okay,
Oh.
well then
Oh, you don't
Yeah.
have, they don't have a written
So-
lease for
them.
those two? All right, thank you. I've received exhibit 101, a lease between, looks like Cody Mason and R.M. Jerdigan.
Mhm.
All right, Mr. Rabine or Miss Ekstrom, questions for Miss Jerdigan?
yeah, the complaint or whatever you wrote said that we took over the lease. Like, did we ever sign a lease agreement or did me and you have a verbal agreement?
There was a verbal, I think I remember, Cody just moved out. You had called and asked if there was a way that you guys could go in for a couple months.
As in you guys, as in,
Well, you and the kids.
okay,
I at that time, we didn't know there was another significant other.
there isn't, but.
So, okay. We weren't sure,
Okay.
so, so I think the phone call, it was pretty close to, Father's Day. I remember that being really close. It could have been even on that day. You had called and say, hey, Cody's out. Wouldn't it be okay to get in there to, rent for a few months until school or something happened? And we thought, sure, he must know the place and stuff. So we agreed verbally on a phone to have you rent it, but there was no rent.
All right, when was the last time you were at the property to check on its conditions?
Last time I think it was when we put the 5-day eviction notice on the door is the last time that we were on the
For
property.
me or for Cody?
Um,
I mean, like before I took over the lease or before I moved in, when was the last time that you were there? Like prior to Father's Day?
well, there was a I believe there was a time where we thought you were out of the picture and it seemed like you had left her there with the children. And somehow, I believe Randy went to ask for rent and she said that, oh, I thought Cody paid, not Cody, but I thought he paid for it. So that's where we thought, geez, is he in? Is he out? Is she in? Is she out? We just couldn't keep up with the activities that was going in and out.
Okay.
So
So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, were you aware of any of the conditions at the property?
yeah, I think there's some conditions that we knew because we have items at our home that we wanted to do windows. We got linoleum for the flooring. We have all these things to go into this home. But it's been occupied. We have not been able to do that.
So you were unaware that the bathroom didn't have like sinks or electricity in it?
Sink and electricity.
Yeah. There's no
I guess I'm not
working
sure
electricity?
about the sink and electricity.
There's no sink in the bathroom?
Oh, no, I did not know
Objection
that.
calls for a fact not entered into the record.
Right, and so it's sustained. Ms. Reba, you can't
Okay.
testify right now. You're just asking questions, so you can't make statements.
Okay.
As you were doing it properly before, asking her if she was aware of something, but you can't make statements.
Okay. I guess I don't know if the court had got the exhibits that I had submitted. But exhibit 1 through 5 are like conditions of the property or photos of the property.
I am not certain of what you're referring to.
He filed them electronically, so the process is,
Were they filed
Oh,
yesterday?
Yes, if you file them electronically, I don't see them.
Okay.
I don't get them until you offer them.
Okay.
And so, she would not have access, the witnesses don't have access, nor does Mr. Benson have access. You need to have paper copies as well for the court and for, your offering in the court, while you're doing your case. Because, that's how the system works. When you file them, it's not like you file them and we already have them. They're in there, but they're hidden until the court receives them. And then as soon as I receive them, then it's like magic. The clerk goes bloop, and then they pop open.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. So me and you never had a verbal lease agreement between me and you.
Correct.
All right. No further questions.
All right. And Ms. Ekstrom, you did not have any questions? No. All right, Mr. Benson, redirect.
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down. Thank you. Mr. Benson, next witness.
I call Randy Jacobson, Your Honor.
Mr. Jacobson, please come forward. You have been sworn in. Please have a seat at the witness stand. You may begin.
Thank you. Would you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Randy Jacobson, and Jacobson.
And where do you reside, Mr. Jacobson?
250.
And you are a business partner with Ms. Jerdigan?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And are you familiar with the trailer home? And did you do the original lease negotiation with Cody and Selena Mason?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And how long did they live there?
Approximately 2 years.
Okay, so it was 23 and 24 or 22 and 23?
I'm going to say 23 and half of 24.
Okay. And what happened with the Masons? They just left?
From lack of rent, we served them with a 5-day notice to leave the premises.
Okay, and they left?
And they left.
Okay. After that, who took over did someone take over the lease or did you take on new renters? What happened?
I got a phone call from Mr. Rabine, and he goes, Cody is his nephew, asked if he could take over the rent just until fall, till the kids go into school. And I agreed, and we agreed on $600 a month rent.
And he was just supposed to stay there until fall?
Yeah.
And that would have been last fall?
Yes, last fall, that's according to his statement.
Okay, and did you ever speak with Miss Ekstrom about the rent there? How was she involved?
I did. I showed up on the property about 5 times. Mr. Rabine was never there one time. She answered the door every time that she was home. I spoke to her and said that Brad wasn't home, and I come to collect rent, and she thought Brad has been paying the rent.
Okay, and never said that Brad wasn't living there anymore or anything?
No, she never said nothing.
Okay. You previously filed a eviction, Burnett County case number 24 SC 219. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that was, I believe that was dismissed by the court commissioner?
Yes.
Okay. And this time, did you serve Miss Ekstrom with a 5-day notice to quit or pay rent?
Yes, I have.
Did you serve Mr. Rabine?
I believe I put one on the door because they weren't home when I done that.
Okay. And approximately when did you put that 5-day notice on the door?
Boy, I'm going to say mid-September. I don't have an exact date.
Okay. Did you put it on the same time as you put Miss Ekstrom's letter on there?
Yes.
Need to get this marked, Your Honor. Jacobson, I'm going to show you what's been marked Exhibit 102. Are you familiar with that document?
Yes, I am.
And can you tell the court what it is?
It's a 5-day eviction notice with Jatisha Ekstrom's name.
Okay, and on the second page, what date is that dated?
It is dated September 12th, 2024.
Okay, and you're telling the court that you left the same exact thing for Mr. Rabin.
Yes.
If I'm pronouncing that correctly, I
Rabine.
apologize. Rabine, I'm sorry.
Correct.
And to date, they have paid no additional rent to you. Is that accurate?
Not $1.
Okay. Have they paid any rent to you?
None.
Okay. And you would agree there's no written agreement between the parties?
No, just a verbal over the telephone, and he asked to move in.
Okay. How much money would you claim you're out on rent right now?
$3,600.
Okay. And how much are the utilities assigned to you or assigned to the renters?
They are assigned to Rosemary, and the utility company said they would not put it in Brad's name. He told them he was only going to be there a couple of months, and they required a lease, and a couple of months wasn't sufficient, so that's why it was left into our name in the beginning.
Okay. And in the beginning, and I'm sorry, whose name is it in now?
Rosemary Jerk. Well, now today it's in Brad Grabine's name.
And which utilities are that?
Just the electric.
Okay. And just to confirm, you had left those 5-day letters and you have received nothing since then, correct?
Correct. No. Nothing.
And to your knowledge, at least, Mr. Rabine is still in that residence,
Yes.
but Miss Ekstrom no longer lives there?
Apparently they changed back and forth.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Rabine or Ms. Ekstrom, do you have questions?
Yeah, did you ever contact the electric company about disconnecting the electric?
Yes.
What was the reason for disconnecting it?
For non-payment from you to pay the electric, and it was in our name.
Okay, did our verbal agreement say who is to pay the electric?
You were to assume all utilities as a renter does.
That's just like what they do, or
You agreed to that.
I agreed to that?
Yes, you did.
okay. That would have been the first phone call that we had.
Yes.
I'm sorry. The 5-day notice that you served upon Jatisha, what kind of notice was that?
An
Was it-
identical one to this one here.
Was it a 5-day notice to vacate or to cure or,
A 5-day to
okay.
vacate.
Do you know that in Wisconsin, you have to give a 5-day notice to cure before you can vacate, or has to be a 5-day notice to cure or vacate?
Secure.
A 5-day notice to cure or vacate, meaning you can't just start a eviction process without giving them the opportunity to cure their default.
All I do know is, according to the city of Grantsburg, they told me I had to give this 5-day notice, and that's all I'm aware of.
You can ask me a question if you want to.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm just so nervous. All right, give me one moment, I'm sorry. When you put up the 5-day notice to vacate on September 12th, did you call, I don't know if I'm saying it right. Did you call the power company before that 5-day notice to vacate was up and have them and ask them to disconnect the electricity at the property?
Objection, relevance.
What's the relevance?
Because the power was disconnected before the 5-day notice to vacate was up in an effort, I believe, to self-help evict me without going through the legal process. And it forced myself and my children out, and we've been homeless ever since. I don't know if I answered that right. I'm sorry.
I'm going to object. She's testifying, Your Honor.
Well, she was providing the basis for the court to determine whether or not it could be relevant if he called the electric company prior to the 5-day notice, whether or not the 5-day notice was provided. I'm going to overrule the objection. You can answer only a yes or no as to whether you called the electric company prior to the 5-day notice being provided.
No.
So I just ask because the 5-day notice to evict.
You can't provide a statement.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Only ask a question.
So on,
You can't speak. It's first.
oh, sorry.
Were you aware that the power was disconnected by the power company on the 4th day of that 5-day notice to vacate?
No, I do not know when they did it.
Okay. So I don't have any further questions.
Did you have another question, Mr. Rabine?
Yeah, you said you did not contact the electric company before the 5-day notice?
I believe no.
Okay, so, when they shut the electric off on June 24th,
Objection, he's
oh,
testifying.
sorry. Did you call the electric company on June 24th when the electric got disconnected?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know that you're like swore to tell the truth?
Of course.
Okay, so why do you have inconsistencies in your story?
Well, I guess now that you said the exact date, then that reminded me the day that I had it shut off.
When are we speaking? Why are we talking about June 24th when we're in December?
Because he said that he hadn't contacted the electric company, or he never talked to the electric company. And then he said that he did contact the electric company. So if he's even,
All right,
I don't know.
Continue.
No further questions.
Redirect, Mr. Benson.
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
You may step down. Thank you. Any further witnesses?
Nope, just subject to rebuttal, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Rabine and Ms. Ekstrom, this is going to be your opportunity to provide your statements and your testimony to the court, as well as any witnesses that you may have. You are not represented. You do not have attorneys, so you would be able to provide your testimony more in a narrative or story-like fashion. Mr. Benson will then be able to ask you questions off of that. Who is going to provide testimony first?
Okay.
Just go down.
Yeah, just tell
May I
me.
approach in the meantime, Your Honor?
You may. All right, 102 is received. Ms. Ekstrom, please come up here to the witness stand for your testimony. You may begin.
Oh, just
Provide me your side of this situation.
can you hand me that paper?
You can't have
Oh,
papers with you.
Okay. I came into the house in I want to say the beginning of July. I was there Brad and I have no significant relationship except for the fact that we have children together. Randy had come to the property several times, like he stated, and each time Brad had been working, so he was at the time staying with a friend up, I think, a little bit north, like maybe around Danbury. And so I was there with the kids. Each time I had answered the door when Randy came, and there was several times that there was 3 instances I can remember that I offered money, and he wouldn't accept it. I think one time it was $200, another time it was like $400, and another time maybe it was like another 2 or 3 because I'd been working. So anyway, when the 5-day notice to evict got put on the door on September 12th, I was at work. I came home from work and I saw it and I said, oh, okay. So I had tried to contact him through text message. I didn't get a response because I just didn't get a response. So that was September 12th. On September 16th, the power company came and they removed the meter. And I had asked why they were removing the meter because I had still the 5-day notice to evict. So if it was on the 12th, it would have been up at midnight on the 17th. So on the 16th, they came, had it around like 11:30 in the morning to remove the meter. And I asked why they were doing that. And they said that
Objection, hearsay.
You can't tell me what other people have.
Oh, I
stated to you.
apologize.
That would be hearsay, so that is sustained.
I apologize for that. So the meter was removed on the 16th. And the evict notice would have been up the 17th at midnight, like I said. And can I say if Randy and I had spoken, that's okay?
That is
Okay. And so before that, he had said that I needed to be out of there because the third time I had offered him money and said, well, can I just sign a lease with you or can we have some type of an agreement? And he had stated no because of the fact that he had somebody moving in there. It was either maybe it was October 1st. They were moving in October or November 1st. He already had a lease signed and they had already put in a down payment because they were on the verge of possibly being homeless. And so I thought, oh, okay. And so when the meter was taken out on the 16th, I then moved into the motel in Grantsburg at the Grantsburg Inn. I've got receipts to show all the money that I paid, and my kids and I have like my 12-year-old, our 16-year-old, mine and Brad's 16-year-old lives with Brad. The 2 younger kids have been with him like for the last week because I was staying with a friend for like I was staying with a friend for the last month and she kind of kicked me out. So I've just kind of been like staying all over the place. So the kids have been with him. Sorry, let me circle back. The kids have been with him. I stayed at the motel for, I think, like 6 weeks after the power was disconnected on the 16th. And I don't really know what else to say. I've been homeless since then. Trying to stay pretty much wherever I can. But Brad and I had an agreement like beforehand when I left on the 16th. And then he ended up, the power's in his name and everything that just like, as long as the kids have a roof over their head, it's really all that matters to me. So I've just been floating around. And that's really all I have to say about the situation.
Thank you. Mr. Benson, do you have questions?
Briefly, Your Honor. So you said Mr. Jacobson stopped by and asked for money and you offered him some money.
I did 3 times, yes.
But you never offered the full payment?
Well, because it wasn't my agreement with him.
Okay.
I didn't have the full payment for him, but I did offer to pay what I could when I had it.
Okay. Were you in agreement that the payments were supposed to be $600 a month?
I wasn't aware of what they were, no.
You never talked with Mr. Rabine about that?
No.
Okay. You had said something, you testified that before that, and I think it was this is September 16th power allegation. Before that, you said you had talked with Randy. When was that?
Probably the last time that he had stopped before September 12th when the notice to, because I believe on September 12th, there was a court they had eviction court, I do believe, for Cody, Brad, and myself, I want to say. I was working that day. I did not come to that. I do believe that the eviction was dismissed that day. Those are the facts what I thought were facts that I know, but
So you never paid any rent?
no.
And to your knowledge, Mr. Rabine didn't pay any rent, did he?
I was under the impression that the rent was being paid. I thought the rent was
You
being.
and Mr. Rabine, you have kids together, but you never talked about the rent?
No, we did not.
Okay. And should you guys be able to live there for free? In the trailer home?
I don't believe anybody should be able to live anywhere for free. I don't understand the question.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else you want to let me know?
No.
Okay, you can step down, Mr. Rabine. You can come up here and provide your testimony.
Me and Randy had communications over the phone. It was around June 9th, I want to say. I asked him if I could move into the property and he said, okay. I had not been at the property, or I wasn't like staying at the property prior to that. Once I got there, I noticed the floors were unfinished, like it's uneven plywood. The bathroom didn't have a operable sink. It didn't have electricity in it.
Objection, relevance.
I'm gonna overrule that. The bathroom didn't have a sink.
Well, it had a sink, but it didn't have a faucet or anything.
Okay.
On the exterior of the house, under the eaves, there's big holes from when Cody put on the roof. He never finished it. That's one of the reasons I messaged that to Randy or whatever. I also never received keys for the property. I also told Randy that, and I believe that that's one reason why I was withholding rent from him, because the property wasn't inhabitable. This was it. So yeah, that was to begin with. And then we had eviction court and it got dismissed, and the electric company came to shut the electric off, which was a self-help eviction that Randy was trying to do. The meter man said that Randy had to do electric work, and that's why they were shutting it off. And Jatisha called the electric company and said that it was a self-help eviction, and the electric company ended up keeping the electric on. And then after the eviction hearing got dismissed, Randy called the electric company again, and because he called the electric company to have them shut the electric off because he claimed that no tenants were living at the property. When the electric company got there, Jatisha was there, but Jody Shinzing, the head office person at the electric company, said that
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained. You can't.
I know.
As to what somebody else told you or said.
They ended up shutting the electric off because no tenants were living there, and that was June 16th. So the property was vacant. I don't know. I contacted Randy, I messaged him a couple times, trying to get the keys for the property or trying to fix some of the repairs or whatever. And he never returned my calls or text messages. December 2nd, the furnace went out in the house. I messaged Randy because the furnace wouldn't keep the house over 50 degrees. And I asked him to repair it, or it should be the landlord's responsibility to repair them, sort of things. He never emailed me back. Also, that was during a cold time, and the water spigot that Cody Mason had put in on the north side of the house, froze and exploded. So the Public Works Department came and shut the water off for the house. So we had to stay at the house with no water for approximately 4 days. Then on December 12th, it must have started getting cold again, and the furnace would not keep up to the 67 degrees at the minimum that Wisconsin law says that a property should maintain its like constant temperature. Like the furnace runs constantly, it doesn't ever shut off. And it's usually about 63 degrees in the house, which is like a violation of the habitability or implied warranty laws of Wisconsin. I've never received a 5-day notice to cure or vacate. And I don't believe Letitia has ever received a 5-day notice to cure or vacate. Well, I know I didn't receive one, but I think that's about it.
Mr. Benson, questions?
Sure. How long have you lived at that address, Mr. Rabine?
Which time? Well, I moved out and then I moved back in.
You moved out. When did you move out? Well, when did you first move in?
I moved in on June 12th.
Of what year?
2024.
And you had an agreement to pay $600 a month?
Yes.
Okay. Have you made any of those payments?
Nope.
Okay.
Because I withheld.
No, you answered my question. You said you moved out. When did you move out?
Probably the middle of July.
All right. And how long did you move out for?
I would say until beginning of September.
So mid-July, all of August. So you moved out for at least a month and a half. Is that right? And did you tell your landlord you were moving out?
No.
Okay.
That would have been like the 3 months that was up.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
I have questions. Mr. Rabine, did you provide a written notice and send it certified mail to your landlord of all the needed repairs and provide a reasonable time for the landlord to make those repairs?
Nope, just through text message.
And did you put all of the $600 per month that is allocated to rent in an escrow account?
Nope.
Did you know that you were legally required to put, if you are withholding rent due to needed repairs, legally required to put your rent in an escrow account? Did you know that?
No.
Did you know that if you do not do that, you do not have any legal basis?
No, I didn't know that.
All right. So you don't have any rent in an escrow account?
No.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Benson?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
You may step down. Thank you, Mr. Rabine. Any other witnesses, Mr. Rabine or Ms. Ekstrom?
Ma'am.
Argument, Mr. Benson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I guess I'm looking at statutes, Wisconsin 704.17 sub 1P sub A. If a month-to-month tenant or a week-to-week tenant fails to pay rent when due, the tenant's tenancy is terminated if the landlord gives the tenant notice requiring the tenant to pay rent or vacate on or before a date at least 5 days after the giving of the notice. Mr. Jacobson testified that he left 5-day notices for both of them on that date. He doesn't have a copy of the one he left Mr. Rabine. I believe his testimony, however, is credible. And there is no written document. Never paid. They admit they've never paid. They did an escrow. Mr. Rabine has given no evidence as to his affirmative defenses and other things that may or may not have been wrong with the property. They've been there. They haven't paid. They need to go, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rabine, do you care to make an argument here, a closing argument to the court today?
Yeah. I don't think Randy's testimony is real factual or it's not credible from various statements about contacting the electric company. I can assure you that I've never received a 5-day notice to vacate or cure. I can assure you that Jetitia's never received a 5-day notice to cure or vacate as per Wisconsin law. I don't know. Randy had committed illegal acts about trying to help evict us by turning the electric off, which is against the law. Yeah. I don't know, that's about it.
Ekstrom?
That's all I got.
All right.
Your Honor, if I can note for the record, I do believe Ms. Ekstrom said she came home and saw the notice. So
Yes, I heard.
thank you.
I heard everything that was stated here today. All right. So what I have here is we have a verbal agreement between Mr. Rabine and Randy Jacobson, who is the partner of Miss
Jerdigan.
Jerdingen, who owns the property. He manages the property for her. He is the one that entered into this verbal lease agreement with Mr. Rabine, and he didn't enter into an agreement with Miss Ekstrom. Miss Ekstrom lived there as a benefit or as a gift from Mr. Rabine. There was no end date of this lease other than it was given sometime in the fall. There was absolutely no payment that was made for rent. This essentially is what's called a tenant at will. I wouldn't even classify this as a periodic tenancy or even a month to month, or quite honestly, or a week to week. This is just a tenancy at will. And in hearing the testimony and the evidence from all sides, Mr. Rabine, I believe that there were issues with the property. I fully believe what you're saying, that there were some things that weren't fully working or were not properly working in that property. However, in Wisconsin, tenants cannot legally withhold rent from the landlord if the landlord has things that need to be repaired, unless you do certain things. You must provide written notice of every single repair that needs to be made, and you must give a reasonable time. You must not only state the repair that needs to be made, must state a reasonable time for the landlord to make those repairs by, and you must give that notice by certified or other mail to the landlord. You must then take that monthly or amount of rent that you agreed upon for that amount of time that you agreed upon. Here you said $600 a month, and you must put that $600 in an escrow account each month. It must go in an escrow account each month. That's a legal requirement to withhold rent for necessary repairs or repairs that you believe make it uninhabitable. Okay? You didn't do that because you need to have that rent in that account showing I'm doing what I need to do as a tenant, even if landlord's not doing what he needs to do as a landlord, but I am doing what I need to do as a tenant. And then you give the landlord reasonable opportunity and reasonable time to make those repairs. If by a reasonable time landlord doesn't step up and do what landlord needs to do, you can use that money. You can say, landlord, I've waited long enough. You haven't done it. Use that money in that escrow to pay someone to fix it for you and say, now I'm deducting that from the rent I owe you. But then you keep their other remainder in the account for this type of purpose to argue and say, okay, you didn't do your job. You didn't follow the law, landlord. We did. But unfortunately, that's not what happened here. And because it's not what happened here, you don't have any recourse. And I can't find it credible or necessarily believe that you didn't get a 5-day notice. You may not have gotten a 5-day notice, but as you testified, you moved into the property in June 12th. You moved out of the property in the middle of July, and then you moved back in the property, but then you moved out of the property. And so a 5-day notice was provided. Ms. Ekstrom indicated she received the 5-day notice. You weren't there hardly at all. Ms. Ekstrom testified to that. You were working, you stayed at people's homes. Randy testified, Mr. Jacobson testified to that because you were not there anytime he was there. A 5-day notice was provided. Ms. Ekstrom most likely grabbed yours as well. So a 5-day notice was provided as legally required. I do find that based upon the testimony I've heard here today, that an eviction is proper. And the court will grant the eviction. The counterclaims are dismissed. There's no basis there. You didn't follow the law. You didn't do the things. And furthermore, you didn't offer any exhibits or anything for me to view or see or observe. And as I stated, you want to step up and you want to do the electronic filing. Well and good. People want to try and be lawyers, but you can't unless you know how to do it. And I don't get to see those things. You electronically file. I don't see them until they're offered, and then the magic goes poof, and then I get to see it. So I don't know what you would even be talking about or referring to or stating. So counterclaims are dismissed. And so I have heard that rent is due for June, July, August, and September for 4 months.
I believe we're up to 6 months now, Your Honor. Mr. Jacobson testified it was $3,600.
I heard that, but I also heard that they vacated the home, that the power was off as of September 17th, and that was the 5-day. So June, July, August, September, 4 months. So they get 4 months of rent.
Could we also get costs and attorney's fees?
And
Your
costs
Honor?
and attorney's fees.
And I assume the attorney's fees is just $100, correct?
That is correct.
And last but not least, do you want me to draft an order to that effect? And I would also like to submit an order to be signed by you that the sheriff's department can remove them in the next 10 days if necessary.
If necessary, yes,
Yeah.
but I believe they're out of the property.
I don't live there.
Yeah, Miss Ekstrom, as she stated, she's homeless now.
I have been since September 16th.
Yeah, she's been out of the property. Mr. Rabine hasn't even been there, and he's living somewhere else, and he's taking care of her children because she has nowhere to live, which is unfortunate, and it's hard to hear.
Thank you.
I will not submit that order then, Your Honor. So,
All right.
but my
so-
client would be free to go and change the locks. And
Yes,
all
do you
those
have any
things.
personal property there?
Yeah, I'm still at the property.
You're at the property?
Yeah.
How can you be at the property? Well, then you have to leave the property. You have to vacate the property. The eviction is granted, and so I guess it would be appropriate if you're not going to vacate.
Writ of assistance, Your Honor. I'm sorry. Thank you.
So Miss Ekstrom left, but you didn't leave?
The kids are still there, but
And that's unfortunate because it's unfortunate to hear that this is happening around Christmas with children. It's very, very sad. And I wish that there was some other way that this could. There's something that we can do just to get through Christmas. We have children.
mhm.
End of December.
January 1st.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
Vacate in 2 weeks with property. Can't damage anything.
If anything, I repaired property there.
All right, so you have 2 weeks to vacate, all right? So the kids can at least have a somewhat good Christmas. Okay? Thank you. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your other hearings,
What you just witnessed wasn't just a messy bond hearing. It was a slow motion collapse of trust, responsibility, and patience, all playing out in real time. Mr. Wyoff walked into that courtroom believing one thing, that his lawyer, the man he paid with what he claims was his last dollar, would be standing beside him. Instead, he was standing alone, blindsided, angry, and convinced the system had just set him up to fail. From the very first exchange, the tension is thick. Wyoff isn't confused in a quiet, nervous way. He's openly frustrated. I paid him, he keeps repeating. He didn't tell me nothing. He didn't tell my people nothing. To Wyoff, this isn't a legal technicality. This is betrayal. In his mind, he did what the system told him to do. Hire a lawyer. Trust that lawyer. Follow instructions. And now he's being told that attorney quietly withdrew the day before court without so much as a phone call. That's not just embarrassing, that's terrifying, especially when you're facing a felony, sitting in custody, and hearing the word warrant come up more than once. The judge, however, isn't reacting emotionally. She's focused on structure, history, and risk. And that's where Wyoff's story starts to crack under pressure. The court points out something important. Wyoff hasn't been seen in quite a while. That's not an accusation, it's a fact on the record. From the bench's perspective, this isn't a man who simply missed one date because of confusion. This is someone whose presence has been inconsistent enough to raise red flags. Then comes the part that really changes the tone, the bond and conditions discussion. Because while Wyoff is focused on his missing lawyer, the court is focused on public safety and compliance. There are no active conditions right now, not because the court went easy on him, but because the warrant effectively wiped the slate clean, and the judge isn't about to let that vacuum sit there unchecked. No drugs, no alcohol. I'm going to test you like crazy. That line isn't personal, it's preventative. The judge makes it very clear, this isn't new behaviour. She's been testing him since the beginning, and she's not stopping now. Whatever sympathy Wyoff might be hoping for doesn't override the court's duty to monitor risk. Wyoff, though, isn't ready to move on. He wants to talk about the case. He wants answers. More importantly, he wants his lawyer. Not a new one, not a temporary one, not an appointed one. The man he paid. And here's where courtroom psychology really kicks in. Wyoff explains what he believes caused all of this. Conflicting court instructions. According to him, felony court told him not to come to this court. He followed that advice, and as a result, this judge issued a warrant. In Wyoff's mind, that wasn't defiance. That was obedience gone wrong. But courts don't operate on hallway instructions and verbal advice. They operate on written orders, dockets, and official notices. And when those don't line up, the burden usually falls on the defendant to clarify, not assume. The judge doesn't immediately accuse him of lying. Instead, she does something far more strategic. She pauses the process and forces accountability. She offers to bring the missing attorney into the courtroom. Not next month, not someday, early next week. That's a power move. By resetting the hearing to Monday, the judge shifts the pressure where it belongs. If the attorney truly abandoned his client without notice, he'll have to answer for it. And if Wyoff's story doesn't hold up, that will become clear too, on the record, in open court. Still, Wyoff can't shake the feeling that everyone is working together. That suspicion, the belief that the system is aligned against you, is incredibly common in moments like this. When communication breaks down, distrust fills the gap. And once that distrust takes hold, every procedural decision starts to feel personal. But the reality is this: the judge didn't revoke bond out of spite. She didn't impose conditions out of anger. She didn't silence Wyoff or rush him out of the courtroom. Instead, she froze the situation, set firm boundaries, and created a short timeline to force clarity. That's not chaos. That's control. Now, the real question isn't just whether Wyoff was misled. It's whether he took responsibility when things started to go off the rails. Did he verify his court dates? Did he follow up in writing? Did he contact the court when his lawyer went silent? Or did he wait, assume, and hope it would sort itself out. Because hope isn't a legal strategy. By the end of the hearing, nothing is resolved. And that's intentional. The judge puts the decision on hold, resets the case, and makes it clear that this situation will be addressed head-on with all parties present. No more disappearing acts. No more second-hand explanations. So now it's your turn to weigh in. If you were sitting on that bench, would you believe Wyoff's explanation about conflicting court orders? Or would you see a pattern of missed responsibility masked by frustration? Was this a lawyer who truly failed his client? Or a defendant who relied too heavily on assumptions? Comment below, Team Wyoff or Team Gagliardi? And if this case opened your eyes to how quickly things can spiral when communication breaks down in court, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who thinks court is just about guilt or innocence. Because as you've just seen, sometimes the real battle is about trust and who pays the price when it disappears.